How do you think President Trump changes the competitive landscape and just the trade overall for emerging markets?
He's having a tremendous impact on emerging countries around the world. Of course, not only emerging countries, but developed countries as well, but particularly emerging countries, because the trade tensions, of course, are set to increase. But I think the most important change is the Trump attitude to challenge everything. In other words, to start with a clean slate. And that's having a big political influence on some of these countries, because it's similar to what happened after the American Revolution. You had the French Revolution and then change throughout Europe. And I think you're going to have this impact around the world with Trump, particularly in emerging countries, where people in these countries are going to question their current leaderships, and they're going to question the policies that they're now following. So it's going to be very interesting going forward.
Based on what we saw from Trump 4 years ago and what he has said so far in the last couple of weeks, are there certain emerging markets that will do better under Trump?
I think India will continue to do well for the simple reason that it's a huge domestic market. But more importantly, India is very adept at trading with the U.S. You have, as you know, very, very smart English-speaking Indians who are able to operate in the U.S. And I think the relationships between India and the U.S. are much better than with China, of course.
And even beyond India, parts of Latin America or South America, Mark, are there any other markets that you think are less insulated or more insulated from Trump's policies and the prospect of tariffs?
I don't think anybody's insulated, but I believe that Argentina is going to do particularly well because the Argentine leadership is following, Malaya is following the Trump program and is very much admiring what Trump is doing. So I think relationships with Argentina are going to be very good. And more importantly, I think Argentina is embarking on incredible changes which are reflective of what Trump is doing in the U.S.
Given what we've heard from Trump on China and this anti-China stance, how would you play that market, and what are you recommending clients to do right now?
Well, what we do is we play the Chinese market, but not through mainland China, but through Taiwan. You must remember the incredible productivity and innovation that you see in Taiwan is a Chinese phenomenon, but without the government overlay that you have in mainland China. So I believe the way to play it is through Taiwan. Taiwan will continue to do very well, particularly in technology, as you know.
So I imagine one of the bigger holdings there is TSMC. That's the world's largest manufacturer of cutting-edge chips. Do you not see, though, the geopolitical risk being an issue for Taiwan in the coming years if China is emboldened to do something or make a move?
No, I think, in fact, Taiwan will probably become even more important. But interestingly, you can see that TSMC is already building a huge plant in Texas and is diversifying their production in the U.S. So that is going to be important as well. But at the end of the day, very difficult to replace Taiwan. The industry there, the backup, the software companies doing the software for these chips are in Taiwan. Of course, they can move anywhere in the world. But I think more and more you're going to see Taiwan becoming important and continuing to be important. But remember, India is coming up. India will soon be a major producer of semiconductors going forward.
Yeah, it's definitely playing an increasingly important role as we, see AI come to light. Do you expect the dollar, Mark, to continue to surge? And at what point does that become more disruptive to emerging markets?
Well, already you can see that it's had an incredible impact. All these countries have been devaluing against the U.S. dollar. I think we're probably approaching the high point of the dollar index, and it's unlikely to go much further, although there'll be individual cases where the emerging market currencies will devalue. Of course, interestingly enough, with trade restrictions, let's say if Trump imposed a 10% tax, import duty on countries, if you have a 10% devaluation, then you don't have to worry about that increase in duty. So I think that's already beginning to happen.
With the exception of India, you seem pretty cautious going into 2025, Mark. Is it harder to get clients to get on board with putting more money to work overseas, given President Trump's, ideas of prioritizing America First policies?
Not really. It's interesting to note that a lot of these countries in the world are very attractive to American investors. Countries like Taiwan, like India, and others. Turkey, for example, is doing very well. So you're going to find many of these investors in America want the diversification that they get in emerging markets. But you must remember that there are many emerging market companies listed in America, which is why in our fund, we don't restrict ourselves to only emerging market markets, emerging market equity markets, but we go into the U.S. as well, because many of these companies in the U.S. are benefiting from the growth in emerging countries.